Hello, it's Tristan here from ZebraInvest, and today I'm running through how to calculate the cost of a lease extension. I'm going to give you a simple, quick and easy way that you can easily work out how much a lease extension might roughly cost to be able to steer you in the right direction. I'm also going to point out where you can get in touch with an actual surveyor that's going to help you negotiate and make sure you get the best price on that premium and what you've actually got to pay when it comes to extending a lease. So the first thing and the first easiest way to do this is to head straight over to our lovely friends at My Leasehold. So My Leasehold are actually chartered valuation surveyors, and they do lease extensions as well. They've got a great tool on their website which allows you to go in quite simply and work out how much your lease extension roughly is going to cost. It doesn't say what part of the country this is, it just gives you a rough indication. So what you can do is you're going to start off with by saying how many years are left on my lease. You might have found this previously from a piece of software, or you may have actually opened and read a lease and you found the amount of years left on it. So say for example we've got 65 years left on lease. The next bit here, it says lease value type. So you can value a lease extension in two ways, either based on what the property is worth today, or the property is worth with a lease extension in place. So the easiest way for me to work out how much a property is going to be worth is actually looking at what's on market, because we don't know how long all leases of other properties are out there and how that's negatively affecting the value of our property. So if you go with a long lease value, you can then base that on any comparables on what other properties are worth out there. You simply then put in what a lease extension or what the property might be worth. And in this case, I'm going to base it on £200,000. And then if we put in a ground rent of say £100, it's going to quickly work out roughly how much a lease extension might be. So here it gives you a bit of a warning to say this is a very brief overview to work out how much the lease extension is going to be. And here you can see with an unexpired term of 65 years, you can see that the lease extension premium is probably between £19,000 and £26,000. There's quite a difference there because it doesn't know whether your ground rent goes up, the terms that are written into your lease, and how it might work otherwise. And also, some parts of the country, you might have a different deferment rate or a decent yield rate. But if we also use, there's another website calculator just on the Leasehold Advisory Service website. And here again, you can do the same thing. You can put in your lease extension value, how long the ground rent is, how much the ground rent is, so I said £100, and then when the lease may expire. So if it was this case, it would be the 19th of May 2090, would get us just up to about 70 years. And then you can click calculate, and then it's going to give you a rough idea of how much a lease extension is. And you can see here, just between the two calculators, this one's saying £23,000 to £25,000, and here it's saying £19,000 to £26,000. So you can see why actually speaking to a surveyor and using a surveyor is going to help you get the best price. Because if you simply went in and said to a freeholder, look, I'll pay you £26,000, they're probably going to be over the moon, because it's probably much higher than what they realistically would achieve. But the best way to do this, and the actual calculations and fees that you're going to have to pay, are likely to be higher than this. It's not just the premium you're paying. You're also going to be paying surveyor's fees, solicitor's fees, registration costs, and any of your legal fees with your, say, lender you've got to deal with as well. So what you're typically going to do is, if you do want to get a lease extension done, you're going to need to serve a Section 42 notice. This is a legal notice that allows you to extend the lease. This gets served upon the freeholder and is usually done by a solicitor. You need to make sure it's correct and valid, because otherwise it can be rejected. What you're going to do is instruct a surveyor, a leasehold surveyor. They will calculate the lease extension value on your behalf. They'll work out roughly what your property is worth, and the idea is you want to make sure you're comparing it to other properties of the same size. So if you've got a one-bedroom flat, you base it on other one-bedroom flats in the area, and they're going to try and demonstrate why your property is worth that amount of money. The chances are you will also ask the freeholder, they will instruct the surveyor, and their surveyor will also try and work out what your property is worth. They don't tend to come visit your property, so they'll end up looking at other comparables in the area. Odds are, freeholders, having worked for one, are likely to try and look at valuations and properties that are worth more money to make sure that the lease extension is worth more. But whereas your valuer is probably going to look at comparables that are probably a little bit lower to make sure the lease extension is lower. And the idea is, between the two of them, they'll agree roughly what that property is worth. What you'll also do is you'll instruct your solicitor to organise the extension on your behalf. They're probably going to deal with your lender if you've got one in place. and they'll also be dealing with the freeholders' solicitors. You'll also be covering the solicitors for the freeholder and all their legal costs as well. If they've got any admin costs or anything for rearranging a thing, you will be paying for that as well. And then you're going to be paying their surveyor too. So if I was going to use or recommend a surveyor, a couple of people who spring to mind straight off the bat, we've just gone over to My Leasehold. They've got a great website, so they could be a good place to start. Person I've always used is Solicitor Surveyors for my lease extensions. They're a great set of firms being able to get out there. So I'll include the links for how to calculate your lease extension using the calculators to put them straight in the below, because these are really good if you are looking at investing in short lease flats as a quick and easy way to be able to work out roughly what a lease extension is going to cost to get you going. I hope you've liked this video. If you've got any comments or questions, please drop them in the below. Subscribe to this channel as we've got a couple more videos coming all about short lease flats and the investment strategy. Cheers.